Aloha, Laura, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry about the delay. For some reason, the link wasn't working for me, and so I had to go in a different way.
Good morning. My name is Jason Ishii, Chairperson of the Authority. I'd like to call to order the November 1st, 2023 public hearing of the Hawaii Community Development Authority, and the time is now 9:48.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Community Development Authority is holding today's public hearing both virtually on Zoom and in person. The Zoom link details were included in the public hearing notice. Therefore, members of the public are welcome to join us on Zoom. We're at the physical meeting site at the American Brewery Building, 547 Queen Street, second floor boardroom, Honolulu, Hawaii 96813. The HCDA communications staff is hosting the Zoom portion of this hearing. Once the public hearing begins, everyone will be muted for clearer audio. Board members, if you have any comments or questions, please unmute yourselves to speak. It is important that all individuals clearly state their name each time prior to speaking. This is a public, in-person, and virtual public hearing, so to prevent any distractions, if you are attending virtually and you are not a board member, staff member, or HCDA's Attorney General, please turn off your video during the meeting. If you are providing verbal public testimonies, your name will be called accordingly. If you are attending in person, when your name is called, please come to the front of the room, and if you're attending virtually, please turn your video on only while providing your testimony. In either case, please clearly state your name and affiliation and proceed with your testimony. Oral testimony will be limited to 3 minutes at the discretion of the presiding officer and will be accepted only on matters directly related to the public hearing subject. If the authority's connection for the remote hearing meeting is lost, the hearing will be recessed until the connection is restored. If the connection cannot be restored within 30 minutes, the hearing will be reconvened Thursday, November 2nd, 2023 at 9:45 a.m. at the same physical location and virtual Zoom link as today's hearing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Executive Director Nakamoto. Let the record reflect the following Kakaako members are present. Vice Chair Higa.
Present.
Member Apo. Member Miranda Johnson.
Present.
Member Anderson.
Present.
Member Hirai.
Present.
Member Evans. Member Sakota.
Present.
Here we have quorum.
Individuals from the public who have requested to provide verbal public testimony on a specific agenda item are on standby and will be permitted to provide testimony respectively. Today's public hearing is being convened under the provisions of Chapter 15-23 Makai Area Rules and 15-219 Rules of Practice and Procedure, Hawaii Administrative Rules, HAR, and Sections 1-28.5, 91-3, 92-41, and 2-6E-5.6 revised Hawaii Revised Statutes, HRS, to consider the following matter. Amendment and completion of draft of HAR Chapter 15-23 relating to the Kakaako Makai area plan and rules. The ACDA is proposing to amend Title 15, Chapter 23, HAR, the Kakaako Community Development District Rules for the Makai area, Makai Rules. Enacted on November 3rd, 2005. In 2006, Act 317 amended HRS Section 26E-21.5 to prohibit the authority from approving any plan or proposal for any residential development in the Makai area. The authority subsequently formed the Kakaako Community Planning Advisory Council and conducted an extensive planning and community outreach effort. The resulting Kakaako Makai Conceptual Master Plan was adopted by the authority in 2011 as the guidance document for reviewing and approving any projects in state-owned lands in Kakaako Makai. The Makai rules, however, were never amended to reflect Act 317 or the Kakaako Makai Conceptual Master Plan. The proposed amendments to the Makai Plan and Rules incorporate the Makai Conceptual Master Plan and Act 317. Allowable land uses are updated to reflect the amendment to Section 206E 31.5 HRS, prohibiting the authority from approving any plan or proposal for residential development, and are now called the Makai Urban Zone and Waterfront Community Zone to reflect the community's desired character for these areas. Allowable building heights and massing, however, remained unchanged. The proposed rules also simplify the presentation of allowable land uses. This should provide landowners an additional flexibility to propose new activities and it is also consistent with the Kakaako Makai area. The proposed rules also introduce new permit types that are consistent with existing and proposed Kakaako Makai area rules, including rules clearance, renovation permit, improvement permit, temporary use permit, and zoning clearance. These new permit types will greatly streamline redevelopment and facilitate investment in existing properties in Kakaako Makai. Language is also being added to bring the zoning review processes in line with Kakaako Makai, including completeness reviews, approval periods, appeals, and historic preservation reviews. Parking minimums are eliminated to be in line with the city and county of Honolulu's current parking policies. Unlike the planned revision of the Makai rules, area rules, however, parking will continue to be excluded from the floor area ratio calculations. Finally, language is also being added to reflect Act 221 in 2023, which amends HRS Section 206E-33 to require the authority to consider climate change, sea level rise, the climate resilient development in the design and the siting of buildings. The authority is conducting today's public hearing to present the rule amendments and collect public testimony. There'll be no decision-making on the proposed amendments today. Also, let the record reflect that Member Apol joined at 9:55. Legal notice, a public hearing notice was published in the Honolulu Star Advertiser, Maui News, the Garden Isle, Hawaii Tribune Herald, and West Hawaii Today on Friday, September 29th, 2023. Let me briefly explain our procedures for today's public hearing. First, HCDA staff will present its report. Following that presentation, board members will have an opportunity to ask questions, to provide comments. Finally, we'll take public testimony in the order that individuals have signed up. Individual comments will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Only members of the authority will be permitted to ask questions of the public. Since each authority member has or will be given a copy of any written testimony that you may have provided, please refrain from reading your written testimony and instead summarize your comments in the time that you have available. When you are called, the communications staff will unmute your mic, clearly state your name and any organization or affiliation that you are representing. I will be acting as a presiding officer for this hearing. Are there any questions to our procedures? Not, we will now begin our proceedings. HCDA's Director of Planning and Development, Ryan Tam, will now present the staff's reports. Ryan?
Good. All right. Good morning, Chair Ishii and board members. I have a short presentation to summarize the proposed amendments. Yeah, so again, good morning. This is actually a view looking towards the Kakaako Makai area from one of the aerial view. So just orientation of the Kakaako Makai area. So again, the area we are, Kakaako Makai encompasses the area Makai of Alwana Boulevard between Alwana Regional Park, including Kewalo Basin, and then stretching Eva towards Piers 1 and 2. We do know that the Makai area does include the Aloha Tower Special District, which is the HECO power plant site. Again, the objectives of the Makai Planning Rules Amendment, again, as mentioned, we're trying to reflect the Act 317 ban on residential development, incorporating the Makai Conceptual Master Plan and the streamlined permitting. So this rendering on the right is a illustrative view of the composite program for the Kakaako Makai Conceptual Master Plan that was developed back and adopted by the board in 2011. Again, it did focus on HCD, then HCDA owned lands. Again, most of these lands now are owned by the Office of Foreign Affairs. Again, the rules clarifications that we're looking, just a number of different amendments to clarify some definitions, bring the processes in line, make them more consistent with Malca. Just adding things like the rules interpretation, ways to resolve conflicts between, different measures such as the energy code or visual light transmission, so things like that. One of the big things that we're doing is we're streamlining the permits. We're using this opportunity to streamline the permits. So here in this diagram on the left, you can see a description of different types of work, starting from minimal at the bottom to major development work on large lots that's going up towards the top. In the middle column, you can see the current rules. The current Makai rules basically only has development permits. So that's board approval. So anytime you want to do anything, essentially that's what's in the rules. I think staff have been processing some rules clearances, but pretty much for any big projects, you need to do a development permit. The proposed rules, we're trying to bring it in line with what is practice and also things that we're trying to improve in Malca. Again, try to make the rules more appropriate and make the type of permit more appropriate to the type of work that's proposed. So again, still large buildings, development permits, still large buildings would get on large lots would still be required to have development permits. Smaller projects such as renovations, smaller improvements could get improvement or renovation permits or rules clearance. Again, these are also a lot reduced fees, a lot cheaper. Also, if there's interior electrical plumbing work that doesn't require a city permit, we're actually exempting that from even getting a permit from us too. So that should allow some more work to be a lot easier to get done. And then we're adding a temporary use permit for short-term events such as block parties, things like that. we're also taking this opportunity to simplify the land use categories and to modernize it. Again, the rules were last amended in 2005, and it was a very traditional type of zoning where each of the rules, each of the allowed uses are specified in detail. So, you know, it gets down to the detail, such as specifying whether hardware stores, stationery stores, you know, dry cleaning stores, it gets down to that detail. And so I think in the new rules, we're trying to make it more like the framework that we have in Mauka and also in Kalaloa, where we have very broad uses, and those would be allowed in certain zones, either the Makai urban zone, which is the area here in purple, or the waterfront commercial zone, which is the area right around the Kewalo Basin. So that might have a little more restricted uses based on the type of activity that we've been given happening around that. And again, this is all very, very similar to actually the current rules, just a slightly different framework. Also, one of the big things we're also like to do at this time, take this opportunity, is to undertake some parking reform, again, which is what we're proposing for Mauka. And it would also be consistent with the City and County of Honolulu Ordinance 2041, which basically eliminates the minimum parking requirements. Again, that's a very traditional planning control. HCDA staff have done analyses over the in recent years that has shown that at least in Mauka, 25 to 30% of parking is underutilized. We do note that you know, if you look at the floor area ratio without parking as utilized, it's about 4.3, and the gross FAR with parking, so it's if you consider the parking as floor area, that's actually about 7.6. So that's basically about 2.2 FAR floor area that's being used for parking. So that's a lot, and that could be used to provide more other development, at least in Mauka. And so we're taking the same concept, again, trying to reduce the land development costs, allow more efficient utilization, and promote more transit-oriented development, reliance on transit and walking. Height and density, again, in the plan and the rules, it's not pretty much staying the same. I think we did take out some area where there was previously development allowed on the parking lot in front of the Makai Gateway Park, right in the center. But other than that, we're everything the same. Also, again, improved planning, as I mentioned, the parking. Also, we're adding flexibility, making complete streets, adding flood hazard design district standards, so things like that. I would note that since the August 2023 administrative draft that we circulated, we did get some additional feedback from the Attorney General and others. So one thing that we're doing is actually on the right column, you can see with respect to Hawaii Revised Statute Section 206E 4.1, it does basically give the authority, it stipulates that the authority has to have the, only the authority may make changes or variances, may allow variances to existing rules. So we're trying to codify that, make sure that previously we had allowed the executive director to make zoning adjustments, but we're taking that out, and so things like that. Also, we're doing other revisions, you know, adding sections to address windows, storefronts, and retail, basically to allow better street activity, refining definitions, getting all the permits into one place. And then also updating the master plan permit section, which, trying to get that aligned with Malca. So again, very detailed in terms of, the period of how master plan permits are implemented. On the left column, again, we're also improving the consistency with the Malca rules. As I mentioned, improving the rules interpretation and conflict resolution. Adding the completeness review. So that's a process that we use in Malca. So again, bringing that over into Makai and other miscellaneous amendments like that. So subject to your questions, that concludes the staff report. We leave you again. This is an image of Kakaako in 1943, Kakaako Makai. Before the area where the Makai Gateway Park is, before that was all filled in as used as landfill. We can see what I'm showing a little tower in the background.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, members, do you have any questions on the staff report? Members, any questions? No?
Sorry, Peter, a full question.
Yes.
I'm surprised I didn't know that the Aloha Towers was part of our district. Am I correct with that? Is that what I heard?
Yes, it's actually the Hiko power plant, so not Aloha
Yeah.
Tower.
Yeah. When it's not so much a question. Yeah, well, it is a question. Has there been any discussion at all with respect to maybe a reuse, thinking about reuse of some of that area? And I recall when the Aloha Tower RFPs went out many years ago, that part of the discussion included Hiko's considering moving that facility, which apparently is not as functional as the other facilities. Any discussion at all about reuse for that area? That's such a linchpin for that entire shoreline, that one area, you know, and if that could happen, wow. Anyway, that's my question.
Yeah, I will say not to my knowledge that there have been any formal discussions. I do know that the plant has been deactivated. So it's in reserve, could be brought up. It is the site of the downtown Kululoya rail station. So in the future. So yeah, it certainly is a strategic site.
Really strategic. I would highly consider having us begin a dialogue about that particular property under the some kind of a reuse, maybe, you know, framework. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Member Paul. So noted.
Right. Members, any other questions on the staff report? If not, since the notice of public hearing was published on Friday, September 29, 2023, and written testimony invited, as of today, the HCDA has received 38 written testimonies, 38 in favor and 0 in opposition. We will now take verbal public testimony. We will now hear testimony from the public. Speakers will be called upon to testify in the order in which they have signed up. Public testimony will be limited to 3 minutes each. Since each authority member has or will be given a copy of any written testimony that you might have provided, please refrain from reading your written testimony and instead summarize your comments in the time that you have available. When you're called, please clearly state your name and any organization that you are representing or affiliated with. The first person to sign up is Ron Iwani.
Friends of Kiwau.
Friends of Kiwau.
And Chair, may I just note that Member Mary Alice Evans has joined the meeting.
You. Ron, you want me?
No, yeah.
Yes, please.
Good morning, HCDA staff and board. Thank you for this opportunity to testify. I did put in written testimony too, but in summary, I would like to say, well, my name is Ronnie Wami, president of Friends of Kiwalos, and our mission is to protect, preserve, and malama the Kiwalo Basin Park and surrounding shoreline to ensure the recreational user can have access and ability to enjoy the area. And with that said, after reading the amendments, the proposed amendments, I strongly support the proposed amendments. And I thank you for working hard on it to bring it in line with modern day, today's day, and to it be in line with the no residential law. And the no residential law is very important. We want to reinforce the law with these amended rules, which should have been done many years ago when 2006, when it became law. But now it's better late than never that we do it. I also want to say that I like the part about including the Kakaako Makai Community Conceptual Master Plan, because that was created by the people and it set the policy of what the people want for the land since the law came into effect. And that should be on the books too. I also like the part about including sea level rise, climate change, and I guess sea level rise techniques to develop the land, because that's what's happening now. And also want to see if we help with includes the toxic land issue there, because as you all know, it was a rubbish dump before. And then they're gonna allow residential or any kind of building, and they're gonna pile drive down into the earth and release these toxic elements. It becomes a public safety issue that should be considered in the rules too. So with all of this said, I want to end by saying at our yearly cleanup at Kiwalo Basin Park, an 8-year-old, well, we asked the public, why is it important to keep the residential ban in place for Kakaako Makai? And the winning answer was from an 8-year-old girl who uses the area. And she said, oh, we already have too many high rises. And she pointed to the Malka area. We should keep the land for the keiki. And it's a simple way to say, yeah, we have enough. Keep the land for the people to use. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wong.
Thank you. Since we have no other signed public testimony, is there any Zoom oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you can state your name and your affiliation.
Hi, my name is Wayne Takamine, and I was the chair of the Kakaako Makai Community Planning Advisory Council that completed the conceptual master plan, and that was approved in 2010. So I just wanted to give some comments about the master plan. As Ron mentioned before, the plan was made up of the community members. And we took about 5 years to make the master plan. And we've gone through so many different discussions on it. We had surveys, and the concepts that are on the plan are the ones that were the most prominent in all of our surveys. And I think overall, we of course wanted to have some kind of promenade so that people could walk around the area. But there were certain other issues, and I think Ron touched on it, the toxic waste. And so during the process, they had capped the piano lot with asphalt. So the capping of we know toxic areas, it's either 2 feet of soil with vegetation. Usually the parks have 2 feet of soil vegetation, and gravel, 6 inches of gravel. And then, the piano lot was capped with 2 inches of asphalt. But this was back in 2010. So if you look at the piano lot now, they have different uses, not really just parking, there's all kind of construction stuff going on, businesses. So not really sure how good that cap is. Also, where the Look Lab site is, there's gravel, supposed to be capped with gravel. This used to be the wastewater site. 6 inches of gravel with cars going in and out. We should take a look at that again to see what kind of contamination is going around in that area. Also, when we did the master plan, it's a conceptual master plan in that we propose elements that the community wanted to see, mostly to, for the community as a whole, members of the community can go and enjoy at a good, price, not very expensive, not like tourist prices, not a tourist trap. But we had stuff like the, Kakaako Makai of fish and farmers markets. And these were supposed to be to enhance some of the neighbor island goods coming in. At that time, they had the super ferry, so they were planning to get produce from neighbor islands also to come in and have their produce sold at the site, and of course, fish from the harbor fish markets. So these are the kind of things that we're looking at, but we never really had a pure study on each element to see how, on the business wise, how we could make a profit. There's definitely areas where we could have economic capture of revenue. So these are things that we had left for the future. People were interested, including organization that now owns the property. They were initially interested in our concepts, and even on news articles, they stated that they're interested in the conceptual master plan, but somewhere along the way, they started looking at, live, work, and play kind of things in the residential component. So now, we want to make sure that there is a way to make money out of it. There's ways to get grants to support cultural and these type of things. I don't think you can get a grant to build a, $500 million condominium. So these are more looking at different ways of getting funding for it. Sometimes, with the Okinawa culture, we have people donate money just so they can get their name on a wall, so a lot of that helped to build the Okinawa Center, which is going on. Well, anyway, I just want to conclude by saying thank you so much. We strongly support these amendments. We're hoping that we can take it a step further after it's implemented.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, since there's no other sign up, is there anyone on Zoom that has testimony?
No.
Okay. If there's no other public testimony, I would like to proceed with closing today's hearing. If there's no other comments or discussion, then on behalf of the HCDA authority members and its staff, I'd like to thank you for your attendance. A decision-making hearing will be held on Wednesday, December 6th, 2023 at 9 a.m. virtually on Zoom and physically at this meeting site. This meeting site will also be available. This public hearing on the applicant's presentation of its new projects now stand adjourned. And the time is 10:22. Thank you.